It's Monday, August 15th, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, bringing you the latest local news, including that presidential candidate Donald Trump was in Connecticut over the weekend, and we have video from outside that rally where supporters and protesters converged. The attorney for the family of a New Canaan baby that died at a daycare center speaks out about the family's struggle. And later in the show, we welcome a guest by phone to discuss a wonderful event coming up in Shelton, the Run for the Warriors. Frank Granito will have local sports and a look at the forecast. And of course, Donald Ang will join us to take a look back on this day in history. But first, Donald Trump's appearance at Sacred Heart University over the weekend drew out thousands of supporters and protesters alike. HAN's Brian Hafele was outside SHU capturing photos of some of those supporters and protesters, including this argument between two people on different sides. Check it out.
So fascist is somebody that's worse than a dictator because a fascist...
No, I didn't say worse. What is a fascist?
A fascist is somebody with complete control over everything. You have no say in anything.
So there's no constitution?
Somebody's going to make all the decisions. That's right. Somebody who wants to make every decision for all of us.
Oh, okay.
You need to do your research.
Yeah,
on what a fascist is.
I have research.
You know what a fascist is?
I'm a constitutionalist.
Are you familiar with what a fascist is?
Mussolini.
Hey, you guys can talk. You just got to keep the sidewalk clear. You guys can talk.
Thanks for your ignorance. Thank you.
Traffic. Trump hates women. Trump hates you.
Crowds formed Saturday around 3 o'clock in the afternoon and were let in around 4:30. Donald Trump was scheduled to speak at 7:30 and arrived at about 7:45. One banner that upset some, which was held by apparent Trump supporters, read, "Diversity equals white genocide." Those who were anti-Trump also made their voices heard by organizing a Love Trump's Hate rally. You can check out some of video from that protest right now.
Love Trump's hate! 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 Love Trump's hate!
Brian Hafele reports that at about 7 o'clock, ticket holders were not allowed to enter the pit center due to the air conditioning not working. Several attendees suffered from heat exhaustion, and an estimated crowd of about 4,500 were not let in. According to reports, about 4,000 to 5,000 people filled the basketball arena. Outside, the overflow crowd listened to an unscripted Trump hurl insults at crooked Hillary and Connecticut's Governor Daniel P. Malloy. The Connecticut Post reports that Trump came out on stage to Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA and did not use a teleprompter. The one-time Greenwich resident was loaded for bear on Connecticut's tax climate, Clinton's email scandal, and his favorite foe, the media. He reportedly said, "It's a garbage paper of the New York Times. Maybe we'll start thinking about taking away their press credentials." A Secret Service agent guarded a fenced-in media workspace in the center of the arena, while one Trump reporter supposedly yelled, "You're scum." And in other news today, in Greenwich, a significant water main break on Morningside Drive is affecting the water supply on the east side of town. Aquarian is on scene and says that the water pressure will be restored between noon and 2 o'clock this afternoon. And Hearst, Connecticut media reports that a Fairfield police officer driving on a rain-soaked I-95 early Sunday morning lost control of his cruiser after encountering pooled water and flipped over. The officer, who was not identified, was not injured in that accident, which occurred at about 3 in the morning. Police said the officer was traveling northbound at about exit 23 and traveled under a dry overpass. After emerging from the overpass, police said the officer hit some pooled water, lost control of the car, and the vehicle overturned. No other cars were involved. State police are investigating the accident, which is being blamed on the wet conditions. And according to the New Canaan Advertiser, for Katie and Fernando Redondo, the grieving New Canaan parents of baby Bella Redondo, who died at Stanford Hospital on July 12th, every day is a struggle and a challenge, according to their attorney, Mark Sherman. 2-month-old Bella had been in the care of Nydia Carrillo Maldonado, owner of Stanford's Little Bears Beginnings Daycare, where police say she suffered blunt force trauma to the head. Stanford police reports indicate that more than 45 minutes elapsed from when the baby started having trouble breathing until Carrillo Maldonado called 911 for help. On August 8th, Carilla Maldonado was charged with first-degree manslaughter and risk of injury to a minor. She's scheduled to appear in court on August 22nd. After the arrest, she surrendered her daycare license to focus on the criminal charges. According to Sherman, the family is relieved by the arrest. While no arrest will ever ease their heartache and loss, the family is grateful to law enforcement for moving so quickly on this case. Sherman said the family wants justice for Bella, and the arrest is the first step toward that. Sherman also rebuked a report in which Carilla Maldonado said she had a social relationship with the Redondo family in addition for caring for their children. The Redondos have 2 other daughters and a son. The boy was allegedly at Little Bears Beginnings daycare on the day that Bella died. And Bridgeport Avenue in Shelton was closed for several hours Friday afternoon after a serious 2-car crash occurred near Walmart around noon. According to Echo Hose Company, Shelton Fire Companies 1 and 4 were dispatched to a collision on Bridgeport Avenue near Wendy's around noon. Squad 1 arrived to find a 2-vehicle accident with 1 person trapped in one of those vehicles. Firefighters freed the occupant in about 20 minutes, and the patient was transported by ambulance shortly after with unknown injuries. The road was closed between Crown Point Plaza and Long Hill Cross as Shelton police investigated. You can get updates on that story at sheltonherald.com. And 3 weeks after a series of vehicle larcenies at the Park and Recreation Center in town, Ridgefield police are once again looking for a suspect who smashed windows on 4 vehicles and stole various items. Captain Jeff Kreitz said that the police first responded to the center's Danbury Road headquarters around 2:40 in the afternoon on Wednesday for a larceny complaint. It was determined that the windows on 4 vehicles had been broken between 1:15 and 2:20 while they were parked there. According to police, the owners of 2 of the vehicles reported various items missing. Anyone with information is asked to call the Ridgefield Police at 203-438-6531. But switching gears now, going to throw it over to Frank Granito for a look at the forecast. Frank.
Thank you, Kate. Temperatures will be cooler than this past weekend where we saw the heat index up around 112 degrees, but it's still going to be pretty hot out there as we find ourselves right back in the middle of another heat wave. Mostly sunny today, but we will see intervals of cloud cover up until the late evening. An expected high of 88 degrees, but that's going to feel a lot more like 98 with the humidity up around 65%. It will be partly cloudy overnight and very, very humid as we can expect temperatures in the low 70s and cloud cover coming in late as we head into Tuesday morning where we might have some more storms on the way. Humidity will be up over 80% throughout the day and temperatures will be in the high 80s with chances of scattered thunderstorms all the way until Wednesday morning. Humidity will be up almost around 90% on Tuesday night. Temperatures dropping down to the low 80s and we'll see more showers and storms rolling through Fairfield County until about Wednesday at noon. When things should clear up, be mostly sunny in the afternoon. A nice breeze of about 60 miles per hour will work its way in, and it'll be mostly sunny with a high in the mid-80s and humidity starting to drop down as we move towards the end of this week, which looks to be a lot more comfortable, Kate.
All right, good to hear. Thanks so much, Frank. We're going to step out for a break. When we come back, Donald Eng joins us to take a look back on this day in history. Frank has a Nutmeg Sports update, and we have a lot more news coming up after this. Have a sports injury or a slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook.
Hi, this is Leo Carl from Carl Chevrolet in New Canaan. And you've heard me talk about the Chevy Volt for years. The new model gets 53 miles on EV charge daily, plus 420-mile full range. But don't take my word for it. You need to come in and test drive the Volt yourself. Visit us at 261 Elm Street in New Canaan or online at carldirect.com.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Drop off your knives to be sharpened, grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers, and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
I really wanted something that felt like a home. Coming from a big house, I wanted the feel of a home as opposed to a condo. The construction is incredible, whether it's the floors, the fireplace, the moldings, the lighting. It's as peaceful as my home was in the middle of the woods. It feels like a house. It does not feel like a condo or a townhome. I feel like I'm in my house.
You're watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. More than 1.5 million viewers have watched our live sports, news, and entertainment broadcasting since the network launched in August 2015. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
We're back on this August 15th edition of your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, and it's time to throw it over to Donald Eng to take a look back on this date in history. Don.
Well, Kate, it was the birth of what we now call Stadium Rock, but first we're going to go to 1483 on the Feast of the Assumption of Mary. Pope Sixtus IV reconsecrates the Capella Maggiore, or the Greater Chapel. That is the larger of the two papal chapels. It had fallen into disrepair over the previous 2 centuries. He renames the rebuilt chapel Sistine after himself. Sixtus, by the way, is a Latinized Greek word that means polished. Don't confuse it with sextus, which means sixth. There have been 5 Pope Sixtuses. To 1969 we go. The Woodstock Music and Art Festival opens in upstate New York, featuring some of the top rock musicians of the era. Day 1 performers include Richie Havens, Sweetwater, who you're looking at there, Brett Sommer, Tim Hardin, Ravi Shankar, Melanie, Arlo Guthrie, and Joan Baez. 1977 at Ohio State University, the Big Ear Radio Telescope receives a radio sequence marked 6EQUJ5. For wavelength and intensity. Now that might not mean much to you, but astronomers are an excitable bunch. The signal appeared to come from the constellation Sagittarius, and it bore all of the expected hallmarks of an intentional extraterrestrial signal. Astronomer J.R. Eman discovered the signal a few days later and made the famous WOW notation. Despite numerous efforts, the WOW signal was never again detected, and there is no scientific explanation for it. That, as I mentioned, the birth of Stadium Rock. Ed Sullivan introduced the band, later released a documentary film, The Beatles at Shea. According to people that were there, the show itself was kind of spotty. The band simply couldn't hear themselves play over the screaming fans. That is your look back in history for today, August 15th, and I'm Donald Eng.
All right, very cool. A lot of rock history in that one today, Don.
A lot of rock history. Also a lot of religious history. They had to cut some of that out. It was the Cathedral of Honolulu, which you might not think people might think is interesting, but it actually is. But yeah, always a packed day.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Don. Now, before we throw it over to Frank Granito for a Nutmeg Sports update, we have some sad Connecticut sports news. Yale University's mascot, Handsome Dan the 17th, has died, and it was most likely from a heart attack, according to Yale University Athletics. NBC Connecticut reports that Handsome Dan, also known as Sherman, died on Thursday in Charlestown, Rhode Island. Sherman was appointed Yale's mascot in 2007. He was 9 years old. He was in Rhode Island with his caretaker, Chris Getman, who said the dog had experienced seizures earlier in the summer, but was on meds and doing well. In his 9 years, Sherman was appointed a midshipman by the United States Naval Reserve with the title of Midshipman Captain in 2015. He was also chairman of the board of Canine Cognitive Behavioral Studies Center, according to Yale. I'm sorry, that is just so sweet. He also met former Presidents George H.W. Bush, as well as Jimmy Carter and Sir Paul McCartney. Yale Athletics has not yet determined a plan to find his successor. But Frank, very sad news, but very sweet. That dog lived quite a life in 9 years.
Quite a life. And so we transitioned from that as we had championship events featuring Connecticut athletes all over the globe this weekend, from Bristol all the way down to Rio. And let's start at the Olympics, where New Canaan's Andrew Campbell was in the medal race of the lightweight sculls for the Olympic rowing. Campbell and his rowing partner Josh Koniecki of Ohio finished 5th with a time of 6:35.07. The U.S. pair was near the front of the pack for the first 1,000 meters and remained in contention through the 2,000-meter race, but ultimately came up short, finishing 5 seconds behind the winning time. France took home gold with a time of 6:30.80. Ireland came in second at 6:31.23, and Norway finishing third for the bronze at 6:31.39. We do want to congratulate Andrew and his partner, though, on such a tremendous job throughout the event. They had hoped to reach the medal round, and hopefully we will see them in South Korea in 4 years when they start again. Moving up the coast to Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, the Norwalk 10-year-old All-Stars found themselves in the championship game at the Cal Ripken World Series. After defeating Poughkeepsie in the semifinals on Thursday night, Norwalk was matched up against undefeated Glen Allen, Virginia, Friday afternoon for all the marbles. And unfortunately, the boys of summer came up just short, falling at the hands of Glen Allen by a score of 4-3. In what was a back-and-forth game that saw 3 lead changes and 3 ties in the first 3 innings before Glen Allen took a 4-2 lead in the 4th. Norwalk cut the lead to 1 run in the 5th inning, but that was as close as they would get. The game ended in some controversy as it appeared there was a missed call on the final out, which prevented Norwalk's tying run from scoring. We'll have a full breakdown of that play and the championship game on Nutmeg Sports this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Norwalk finished the season with a record of 25-4 and as the nation's runner-up. And finally, in Bristol on Saturday in the championship of the Little League New England Regional Tournament, Fairfield American came up 1 game short of that World Series berth and traveling to Williamsport as they fell to Rhode Island 5-1. Over its previous 2 regional games, Fairfield American had banged out 33 hits and scored 28 runs, but against Warwick North's pitcher Colin Lemieux, who also added a home run, double, and drove in 3 runs, the bats were held in check. Fairfield American did manage 8 hits, but ran themselves out of potential scoring situations by being a little over-aggressive on the base paths. For more on the Little League Regional Championship game, tune into Nutmeg Sports at 2 o'clock today, where we'll also be joined by Dave Rudin of the Rudin Report for a preview of the high school's football season this fall. Let's send it back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. Well, in some more local news, in Stratford, construction work on a bridge over Route 110 will force a temporary closure of the road this week. The Connecticut Department of Transportation announced that work associated with the installation of a precast deck unit for rehabilitation of the bridge over Pumpkin Ground Brook will require the road to be closed at 9 at night on Tuesday. All traffic on Route 110 will be detoured starting at 9 o'clock. Motorists traveling north will be detoured onto Cut Spring Road, Chapel Street, and onto Main Street. And motorists traveling southbound on Route 110 will be detoured onto Main Street, Chapel Street, and Cut Spring Road. But you can get more details on that at StratfordStar.com. And the Green Party of Connecticut has just amassed between 14,000 and 15,000 signatures of voters in order to secure Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein's place on the Constitution State's ballot. The final batch of signatures were collected on 1,212 petition sheets, originally distributed throughout the state by more than 400 party volunteers, independent activists, and paid petitioners working through the nonprofit Free and Equal. Those were delivered Wednesday, August 10th to the Secretary of State's office by co-chair and state senatorial candidate Barbara Berry. Current state law stipulates that petitioners must gather 7,500 valid signatures of registered voters in support of a third-party candidate in order for it to appear on the state's presidential ballot. According to fellow co-chair Mike DeRosa, the nearly 100% additional names provide a firm safety margin against signatures that could be potentially deemed unqualified by the Secretary of State. And menswear designer and Navy veteran Salvatore Giardini of Easton has been named the winner of the Ragusa World Prize Award to be presented in Italy during a fashion celebration. 2 days were devoted to the show, Friday, August 5th and Saturday, August 6th, with entertainment, music, and a prize for corporate excellence. Giardini is vice president of Design Daying Alliance in New York and owner of Salvatore Giardini Custom Men's Suits, and they are a supplier retailer for Saks Fifth Avenue. But we are going to step out for a break, and when we come back, we're joined by a special guest over the phone to talk about Hope for Warriors and a special event coming up to support that organization. You'll find out more about that when we come back after this. For more than 50 years, Triple S has been Fairfield County's expert service for carpet, upholstery, and drapery cleaning. We provide the best in repairs and in-depth restoration, understanding fabrics and how to properly clean and restore them. Our staff will come to your home to clean your wall-to-wall carpet to perfection. We can also pick up your fine carpets and bring them to our facilities. With locations in Norwalk, Stamford, and Stratford, Triple S will get the job done fast, big or small. At Triple S, you can count on our people as well as our cleaning. Find us at triplesclean.com or 203-847-8000.
I really wanted something that felt like a home. Coming from a big house, I wanted the feel of a home as opposed to a condo. New Canaan is 6 minutes down the road. New Canaan's a beautiful little town to walk around. I work in Westport. My commute is 20 minutes. It's close to Westchester where my family is, so the location is ideal. There is no other townhome that compares in the area. This is where I want to be.
At Cabbage Patch Nursery School in Ridgefield, playtime is learning time. Using out-of-the-box activities and programs in science, dance, Spanish, Taekwondo, and so much more, learning is made fun. Aside from interactive classrooms, our center features a sensory room, computer lab, and a large outdoor space for playtime fun. Our carefully chosen staff believe in a supportive, safe environment and keeping you updated on your little one's experience. Cabbage Patch Ridgefield, helping shape your child's future. 29 Farrar Lane in Ridgefield. Call 203-340-1250 to register today.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter. And I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
I'm Frank Granito.
And I'm Donald Ing for the HAN Network.
Tune in to Nutmeg Sports Monday through Wednesday, where we bring you all the top stories for Connecticut sports.
From players and coaches' interviews to expert opinions with local sports editors, no one gets you closer to Connecticut's games than Nutmeg Sports.
Nutmeg Sports, Monday through Wednesday at 2 p.m. on the HAN Network.
We are back on this Monday edition of your coffee break on the HAN Network. We're trying to get Rebecca Herron from Run for the Warriors on, but we're going to reschedule with her. But recapping some of the top stories that we're following today, Donald Trump's appearance at Sacred Heart University over the weekend drew out thousands of supporters and protesters alike. HAN's Brian Hafele was outside SHU capturing photos and videos of some of what was happening. Crowds formed Saturday around 3 o'clock and were let in around 4:30. Trump was scheduled to speak at 7:30 and arrived at about 7:45. There were a lot of protesters and supporters, including one banner that was being held by some that upset some people, reading "Diversity equals white genocide." Those who were anti-Trump also made their voices heard by organizing a Love Trump's Hate rally. According to reports, about 4,000 to 5,000 people filled the basketball arena to see Trump. Outside, an overflow crowd listened to the unscripted Trump hurl insults at what he called Crooked Hillary and Connecticut's Governor Daniel P. Malloy. And in other news today, in Greenwich, a significant water main break on Morningside Drive is affecting the water supply on the east side of town. Aquarian is on the scene, and they say that water pressure will be restored between 12 and 2 p.m. this afternoon. And Hearst, Connecticut media reports that a Fairfield police officer driving on a rain-soaked I-95 early Sunday morning lost control of his cruiser after encountering pooled water and flipped over. The officer, who was not identified, was not injured in the accident, which occurred at about 3 in the morning. Police say the officer was traveling northbound at exit 23 and he had traveled under a dry overpass. After emerging from the overpass, police said the officer hit some water, lost control, and the vehicle overturned. No other cars were involved, and state police are investigating the accident, which they believe was caused by the wet conditions. And the New Canaan Advertiser reports that for Katie and Fernando Redondo, the grieving New Canaan parents of baby Bella Redondo, who died at Stanford Hospital on July 12th, every day is a struggle and a challenge, according to their lawyer, Mark Sherman. 2-month-old Bella had been in the care of Nydia Carrillo Maldonado, owner of Stanford's Little Bears Beginnings Daycare, where police say she suffered blunt force trauma to the head. Stanford police reports indicate that more than 45 minutes elapsed from when the baby started having trouble breathing until Carilla Maldonado called 911 for assistance. On August 8th, Carilla Maldonado was arrested and charged with manslaughter and risk of injury to a minor. After the arrest, she surrendered her daycare license to focus on those criminal charges. Sherman said the family is relieved by the arrest, though no arrest will ever ease their heartache and loss. Sherman says the family is grateful for law enforcement moving so quickly. Sherman also rebuked a report in which Carilla Maldonado said she had a social relationship with the Redondo family in addition to caring for their children. You can get more on that story at ncadvertiser.com. And Bridgeport Avenue in Shelton was closed for several hours Friday after a serious two-car crash occurred around noon. According to Echo Hose Company, Shelton Fire Companies 1 and 4 were dispatched to a collision on Bridgeport Avenue near Wendy's around noon. Squad 1 arrived to find a two-vehicle accident with one person trapped in one of those vehicles. Firefighters were able to free the occupant in about 20 minutes, and that patient was transported by ambulance with unknown injuries. You can check for updates on that story at sheltonherald.com. But let's throw it over to Frank for one final look at the forecast. Frank.
Thank you, Kate. Mostly sunny today. Temperatures reaching the high 80s. That's going to feel a lot closer to 100 with the humidity factored in up around 70%. Very humid and cloudy overnight heading into Tuesday, where there are potential for showers and thunderstorms all day long. It'll be pretty humid tomorrow, and that will feel up around 105 on the heat index as we're trying to work out of this heat wave. Storms continue to pass through overnight and possible early on Wednesday morning till about noon, and that's where we should see things start to clear up. We can expect plenty of sun and a nice breeze coming in that afternoon as the end of the week looks to cool down and be pretty nice out.
All right, not too bad. All right, thanks so much, Frank. Well, we're going to wrap things up here on your coffee break today. Of course, 2 o'clock, Nutmeg Sports. And we'll be back tomorrow at 11, so we'll see you then. Have a great day.